Hey, good morning, Will. I think we're live now.
Good morning, Joanna.
All right. So we're going to let some folks in. We have a lot of people attending. So it's very exciting. You have quite the audience today, Will.
Let's I hope we do. Let's hope we deliver on what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's right. You always do. I'm not worried about it. Yeah, so we're going to wait a few minutes and let everyone kind of come into the room. For those of you who are coming in, we had a big response. So Will asked me not to tell him how many of you are listening. We're going to pretend that it's just me and him talking. And he's showing me how to use Teams. So if there's any background noise, as everyone knows, I think most of you are working from home. We are, so we're doing this virtually. I did ask my nanny to take the kids out, but I can still hear them in the background. Sometimes Will's son Noah comes in to say hello to us as well.
I'm hoping this time, yeah, we've told them like, all right, no one come downstairs at all. I think the last time we did the webinar, it was like a beautiful day. The windows were open. I'm hearing birds and all this stuff going on. So.
That's right. Helicopters going through. So windows are closed, Will?
Windows are closed and it's a pretty crummy day outside. So I don't think.
So it's good to be on a webinar.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll wait just another minute. I still see people coming in. And it's only 10. Okay. I think Karen has joined as well. All right. Well, it's 10:01, so I usually wait just so we can keep on time. Good morning for those of you who have joined our Teams Demo 201. I'm Joanna Sobran, CEO at MXOtech. And with me, I have Will Oriana. He's our Director of Client Services. For those of you who are clients, I'm sure you've spoken to Will at some point in the past. He's been with MXO for over 8 years now. Used to actually be on our support team, and now he manages that team. And I asked Will to do these series of Teams demos for us because he was one of the first people in our company to adapt Teams. He loved it. He rolled it out to us internally, and it's just been really helpful. I've been enjoying sitting in on some of these demos because I'm learning a lot myself. I wasn't using it as much when we were all working within our offices, and now that we're remote, it's just been super helpful. So first, a couple of things. One is we are recording this session. We're gonna definitely give you an opportunity to ask questions. You can put your questions in the chat. I may get to some of those during our conversation, depending on where we are at that point, and some I may save it for the end. So for those of you who did not participate in Teams 101, or you haven't listened to the recording, it is on our YouTube channel at MXO. And Karen, our Director of Marketing, is going to send it out again to all of you. So you should listen to that in case some of this doesn't make sense for you on 201. But what we reviewed on 101 were basic things like simple chat features, just chatting with individuals, making simple video calls, audio. We looked at teams versus channels, gave some examples of that. It's kind of fun to have different channels within your organization. We looked at calendaring integration with Outlook, which is a great feature that's been recently added if you have Office 365. And we reviewed simple file sharing. So today, what we're going to do, we're going to review the search bar and how to power use it, the Teams call demo, additional features in calendaring, ways to make Teams more customized for your workflows, and everything that we kind of call Teams 201. Some examples that I want to give you, things that I'm really excited about is doing whiteboarding within Teams, changing your background, conference calling, more on the calendaring side of things. and then badges rewarding your team members and interacting, kind of helping you enhance your culture a bit. So that's sort of the overview of everything we're going to review today. If any of you, oh, by the way, Charlotte from our team put together a guide. So everything that Will is going to show you, she spent like 3 hours just putting it together, doing screenshots and documenting it. So we'll send it to you. You can use it just to remind yourself. If you forget anything he said, you can pass it on to your colleagues so that you can follow those instructions. But for those of you who are clients, you can always call us directly, ask us questions. We can help you. For those of you who are not, you can still give us a call or email at ask@mxotech.com. So without further ado, I am going to give this over to Will Oriana. So thanks, Will.
All right, good morning. I'm gonna go ahead and start sharing my screen here. All righty, I think we're sharing right now. Go ahead and open up Teams. Okay, so to start, we're gonna go over search bar and kind of interesting ways to power use it. So for this, I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. Core, there you go. Just so that we can all see it a little bit better. Okay, so the search bar. So most of you probably in the beginning have been using the search bar just for very simple searching of wording. And as you guys know, any word that you want, like everything's indexed, any word can be found within the search bar, right? But what is also interesting is just being able to do other sorts of commands. So as an example, right now, you can see that my status, I'm busy, right? But let's say I want to set myself to do not disturb, meaning I don't want any notifications to pop up in Teams while I'm doing this this webinar. So what you can do is you can, right on the search bar, you can type in /, which then will give you a list of different sort of options here, right? So you can see that there's one called /DND, or I can type in /DND. And I can hit enter on that, which then sets my status. And you'll see that in a moment, it'll change it to do not disturb. So then based on whatever custom settings that I've set for notifications, those will change along with it. So in this case, I'm only going to get notifications for urgent messages or from my priority contacts, which you can change that whenever you'd like. In addition to that, let's say if I want to look at saved messages, right? So messages that I've marked as important or saved, I can do the same exact thing where I can do a search for my saved list. Right? And I can go through and say, hey, look, there's a couple messages here that I marked as important that I wanted to save. And very simple to actually go ahead and do that, because you can just hit the little 3 dots next to any message or any text within Teams and hit save this message. And once you've done that, when you do that search, that'll come up across anything. If you save the message within a team, a channel, or a direct chat, that would show up. The next thing we can look at, let's say, is unread messages, right? So let me go back to a chat here real quick. It's a little slow this morning, so sorry about that. And I'm gonna go into here. And let's say, actually, Karen or Joanna, would you guys mind just putting a quick message in the Teams chat here? Thank you, Karen. You can see Karen's typing. Okay, right? Because I'm in the chat, it's marked that as read at this point, right? But let's say I want to come back to this, because just like in emails, like I don't know about you guys, but with me, I go ahead and flag my messages, right? Or many of you might leave them as unread because you want to come back to them later. And the thing with chat is once you've looked at it, it's like, well, okay, you've looked at it, it's gone. That notification that you're missing, that you've got an unread message isn't going to be there anymore. So you can always just go ahead and once again, hit the 3 dots and you can mark it as unread, right? And you could see that it's now showed me that chat that I have an unread message, right? So if I go ahead, I can say /unread. that's going to go through and go through all my activities and channels, and it's going to tell me everything that's been set to unread. I think it marked it as red, so let me go back. Let's show them unread. I'm going to just go to a team real quick. /unread. Just wait a moment for that. Not working today during the demo, of course, but ideally what should happen is you should see the unread messages that are going to end up popping up here. Okay. All right. The next set of commands that you can do is also @. So it's very easy. If you're, let's say right now, if I'm within a channel, but I want to send a message directly to another individual, right? Instead of me jumping back into the chat and going to that person, which takes a little bit of time, I can go ahead and just, let's say I do @ and I want to type in Karen. Hey, good morning. And it'll actually send her the message right within the search bar window here, which is really neat. And I've stayed within the general channel that I've showed you guys last time, and you'll see that it already sent her the message, which is very neat. There's a lot of other commands. You don't have to remember any of these things. You can just type in @ or you can type in /, right? Which then, so you don't have to remember them. It'll always give you the list of items there. All right, let's now jump into a quick, hopefully we're not gonna have any problems with doing this. I was very hesitant last time to do an actual call while we're doing recordings. So we're gonna try to do this. Minimize this, make this larger. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Karen a call. I'm not going to do my video because I'm already using it within Zoom. So just keep that in mind, everyone, that if your computer is only going to allow video to be used in one place at a time. So if you're in a Zoom, I'm sharing my video in Zoom right now, it would not show up in Teams. Or if, let's say, you were recording something on your computer, you know, your camera is in use by the first item that is using the camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and call Karen. I'm just gonna do a quick audio call with her. Now, last time we spoke, they were getting questions about, hey, is there any ways to blur your background or any other interesting ways to do backgrounds? And at the time, which was just, I think, a month ago when we did the 101, it was just blurring your background. So since then, Microsoft actually added additional backgrounds. So Karen, do you want to show them any background, maybe one of your more favorite backgrounds? And I actually prefer these backgrounds over the ones that that I know Zoom uses. Yeah, there you go. It's a little cleaner, right? And I know there's some third-party additions that you can add to it to make it a little bit more interesting. But you can see it's like a perfect layout of her, right? Now with these, it's very important that you're doing the backgrounds based on, you know, with the camera looking in front of you. If the camera's to the side of you, it just may not work very good. Now, the way she did that was if you go ahead and hit more actions, you can hit show background effects, right? And once again, I'm not going to show my preview because I'm doing the video, but you can see here that you can do blurring background, or there's a bunch of other different options here that you can pick from. And I feel like they've been adding a ton of these. So it's pretty interesting, especially if you want to be in a little bit more of a professional setting because you're at home and you know, you don't want to show if there's craziness going on behind you. So perfect. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to do whiteboarding. So for some reason, being very transparent with everyone, there's a bug going on right now where usually you can just hit this share button and you'll see the whiteboard option come up here. But for some reason on the individual chats, it hasn't been working. So that's something we'll bring up with Microsoft. But In the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you two things. So I'm going to show you how to add a participant to an existing call, and then I'll show you how to use the whiteboard, because with the group chats, the whiteboarding has been working. So I'm going to hit show participants, and you can see here that it's just me and Karen. And I'm going to go ahead and invite Charlotte to this. Hopefully she's available. And once I've hit enter, it's going to go ahead and call her. And you can continue to add people in here as you go, right? So you might be having, it's like you're at work, right? You might be having a call, or you might walk up to someone and say, actually, you know what, let's grab Joe instead, and bring Joe into the conversation. You do the exact same thing within Teams. So Charlotte joined. Thank you, Charlotte, for joining. So you can see that she's here. And if for some reason I'm like, you know what, I'm tired of Charlotte, I'm going to kick her out, I can just hit the three dots and remove participant, or I can mute her if she wasn't already muted. Right. And actually I should mute myself, because I bet Karen and Charlotte are hearing a bunch of background noise. So, but we can mute people. All right. So let's say I want to go ahead and do the calendaring. So I'm going to close this out. I can hit this share option here. And then right here on the right side, you'll see Microsoft Whiteboard. So it's very similar to like how you would be at the office. If you have a whiteboard, why would you use a whiteboard if you're in a meeting? And it could be because, hey, we want to just draw out some ideas. So as an example, let's say our sysadmins, right? They want to review a network layout. So we'll quickly go ahead and draw out a network layout and say, okay, let's, we're going to draw the router. All right, we're going to draw a firewall. Excuse my skills here. Right, and we're going to build out a nice network topology. Okay. And we'll do this quite a bit in our office. If you've ever been there, you'll see that we have a bunch of whiteboards all over. And we'll do this because ad hoc, we want to just go ahead and draw out some ideas, and then later on reference them back, which they'll always be available. And they've actually recently added a couple other features where you can open an app, and there's a separate app for Whiteboard specifically, even if you log into your Office 365. So I'll show you that real quick. Sorry about that. So let's go to portal.office.com. You can see here that under your applications, right, there's now one called Whiteboard, which would always now be available to you. So anytime you've done any whiteboarding in the past, you'll actually see a list of all of them and a copy of all of them there for the ones that you've started. So you'll see here, this is the one from 10/16 just now, right? And I can click on that, and I'll actually be able to see that whiteboard, and I can get to it whenever, right? Which is pretty neat. Another example of that could be, let's say on our application development side, we have our UI UX designers, right? And maybe they want to, prototype, something within a meeting just to get a kind of an idea on how that would look. So they might say, okay, hey, we're going to draw this application, draw a box. Yep, I want it to have an X here, and I want it to have whatever lines. This is the way it would look, right? And they can kind of do that very quickly ad hoc, at any point. There's even the ability that, I'm not going to show it at this time, but there's an ability that even if you had a meeting that's coming up, you can actually prep a whiteboard for that meeting, so that when the meeting starts, you can show it already, so you're not here drawing in front of everyone if you feel less comfortable doing that. Okay. All right, Karen, Charlotte, thank you for that. One last quick thing. They just added this within this last week, but let me close out the whiteboard. And I guess, Charlotte, if you don't mind, can you just do a hand raise? See if that works for you. All right, so if you have, let's say you have a company-wide meeting that's going on, and instead of just say everyone interrupting all the time, they just added this hand raising. We call it, high-fiving internally right now. But you can see here that she had her little palm that's up, and I could say, hey, Charlotte, what's going on? What did you need to say? It's pretty neat. They just added that. Okay, well, thank you, Charlotte and Karen. I'm going to hang up now.
And you know what I like about the whiteboarding too, one thing to think about while we use this internally, you could also use it externally. So if you have a business, you know, you could be in construction, you could be in IT, I mean, you know, design, PR, you can use the whiteboarding to have something ready to present to your client when you're doing an external meeting using Teams. So don't think about it just internally, but also externally, which is really nice. And it shows that, you know, you've prepared, you've thought everything out, and you could that way also engage with your clients and prospects on a particular project or an idea. So it's another thing just to think about.
Yeah, good point, Joanna. So in the Teams 101, one thing I showed you, and I gave you guys the option of saying, hey, if let's say you wanted to have a meeting with an external person or internal, and they're not going to have the ability to join a Teams call through a computer because maybe they're traveling or whatnot. So you could do the conference bridge option, but I didn't show you guys how the conference bridge actually kind of looks. So I went ahead and we've added a license to actually just show you guys that. So when you go ahead and in Outlook, you put mute Teams meeting, right? As long as they've assigned, your IT department or your admin has assigned a license to you, automatically now, anytime you do any Microsoft Teams meeting, it's going to put your specific phone number, right? Well, actually, I think this is a general phone number that for Microsoft, and then your specific conference ID, right? So it's automatically there, which makes it even easier for you instead of having to dig around. You know, you might have some call-in services where you have to find the number and the PIN, and you have to then put that inside the invitation. This will just build it for you. And then it's up to you. Everyone can decide whether they can join the meeting through video, the kind of traditional way, or if they want to go back and do it via a phone call. Regardless, you'll see everyone join the meeting within the actual video call. Okay. And there's different meeting options that you can set. I'm not going to get into too much of those right now, but if you have very specific questions of that, I can go into more details about it. But you can see it's very, very simple, and this will always be put inside the body going forward as long as you have a license. Okay. All right. Let's real quick just show you calendaring. So the last time I explained that you have the ability to set up meetings in a channel, and you can do reoccurring meetings as well. So I just wanted to, I don't recall that I actually showed you how to create the reoccurring meeting within a channel. So I'm just going to show you that real quick. So if I go to the calendar option, I go to new meeting here, right? Team-wide, let's just call it team-wide huddle, right? And what you can do here is actually add the channel and location. So let's say if I want to have it within my MXO, well, that's too many people. Let's do, just going to do my demo channel. And if I want to just go ahead and throw it inside of the team called Will's Teams Demo, and in the channel called General. Actually, let's get more specific here. Let's discard that, right? Because what I would like to see out of it, anything here, is that everyone goes back and creates a channel within their teams called Teams Meetings, because it's very, very convenient. So I'm just going to add a quick channel here called Demo Meetings. And I'm going to go back to calendar here. New meeting. Channels, Will's Teams Demo. And now I'm using specifically the channel dedicated to meetings, right? Demo meeting. I'm not going to add any attendees because I just want everyone that's a part of the team to be invited to this, which it would happen automatically at that point. I could send, wait for this to finish loading, and the way it's looked today so far with how slow it's been, I feel like this is going to take a moment. But once this actually finishes, what should happen is if I go into that specific channel, you can see here that huddles will be here. So then every time, let's say if this was something that's reoccurring, right, it's every Tuesday at 10:30, that will automatically show up right within here. And then people can just go in, click it, and join the meeting very easily.
And maybe you could show them our leadership one that we have, our 12:30 will, exactly what it would look like. And I really like this because I don't have to think about it. It actually pops up for me real quick as a reminder. And all I have to hit is join, and everybody's on at that same time. So for us, we do a
We have
leadership
this one
huddle
here.
every day at 12:30, and it's really nice. Like literally, I don't have to think about it. It pops up on my phone or on my computer or both, and I can join whichever one, and everybody's on camera and we're participating. So what I really like about that is it takes away from, are you joining this call? Where do I look for it? Is it here? Is it there? It just makes it super simple.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for someone to initiate that call.
Exactly.
Like, hey, we're having a meeting. Well, who's going to start? Oh, wait, I thought you were calling me.
Right.
It makes it a lot easier.
And then when you name it, like you see ours leadership team huddle, right? You know exactly what it's about. It shows, it reoccurs every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, 12:30. I mean, it just makes it very obvious and easy. So I love that. If you have, team meetings that you need to collaborate on.
Yep. Okay. So the next thing would be, we're going to look at kind of I put application customization, but it's really more of just making teams fit you and how you work. So one thing is immediately, and I've had to do this for this meeting because I have a 32-inch screen, so it makes everything look really small. But if you hit the control button and then either minus or plus, it'll zoom in and zoom out of teams. So that's just control and then minus or plus if you want to go up or down, and it'll zoom into the teams application. It's very similar to like how you would do it in a web browser. All right. So let's say you want to do filter some activity. So if I go to the activity here, right, and what I can do is I can actually hit this little filter button. And I could say, if I'm not mistaken, what I could do is there should be a filter. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So you hit the 3 dots and you can filter by these items. So if you want to filter by, similar to how you did it with the search on top, by just at mentioned. So I want to filter by any time I've been mentioned, or a reply or a reaction, or I want to just look for all my missed calls. You can filter by those very, very quickly and easily. One thing that I know a lot of people ask about is there's a lot of noise that's going on within teams because there's so many and you might be a part of multiple teams. So one thing, you can't really control whether you want to be in that team or not, because there's a decision made why you're a part of that team. But let's say you want to control the noise that's happening in a particular channel. So let's say the MSP team. So when we were back in the office, we would do 7-Eleven runs all the time. And people would always put in here, hey, what does anybody want from 7-Eleven, right? I personally never want anything from 7-Eleven because I'm watching my figure, so I'm trying to be healthy. So let's say I want to not get any notifications anytime someone posts something in that channel. So I can hit the 3 dots. I can go to channel notifications, and I can actually just shut them off. Now, and I can always go back and say, no, actually, I want to see the banner and feed, or I only want to show it in my feed, or I only want to show it when there's a mention of that channel. Me personally, I just don't want to see anything with it. So I have those set to off. And you can do this across all your channels so that then you focus in on, well, I only want to receive notifications for the important channels that I feel I need to be reviewing. So that's very, very convenient, very, very important, because by default you will get so much noise from teams. It's kind of ridiculous depending how big your organization is and how active you guys are. The other last quick thing to show you, or 2 more quick things to show you is, so let's say right now there's like this default order for the teams, and I think it does it by alphabetical order, right? But let's say you want certain ones to be on top. So you can actually just drag that team to the top so that it's more top of mind. Because, if you look at this, let's say in mine in particular, once I open it up, right, like you can see there's so many channels that we have that I have to scroll. but maybe the MXO1 is not as important to me. Maybe the MSP one is not as important to me, but this demo one is very important to me. So I want that to be top of mind, and I can always collapse these as I want. Other very small quick thing is if you click on your name on the top right and you go into settings here, you can change your theme. So right now by default, everyone has this set to this like very white and bright view, but you can change this to a dark mode to just make it a little bit more easier on your eyes, right? Joanna hates this mode, so she always makes me switch back to the default. But I can go ahead and change that. And right within here, there's so many other settings that you guys can go through. Like if you don't want Teams to auto start in the beginning of your day, when you first log into your computer, you can shut that off. You can close it so that it doesn't keep the application running. So when I hit the X, it actually closes it out. There's a lot of very neat things that you can go through. So we don't have enough time to go through that now, but I would really recommend reviewing that. Alrighty.
And well, real quick, you know, when you were Karen and you and I were chatting, can you go to that channel back to Karen and I and just show them the file? So one of the things like that I really like, and I think we might have showed it, but I just want to show it one more time. So this was our chat. Will actually had deleted everything prior to this call, but I asked them, hey, can you post this Teams demo 201 document that I mentioned everyone's going to get after this? You could see he did it 48 minutes ago. And what's nice is that when we were talking about the demo, any document related to that topic, whether it's a demo or a project or whatever, can be posted in here, searched, organized. It's really nice. It just makes it super simple. I know exactly where to go for that.
Right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No problem. Okay. So so there's this really neat feature called badges or rewarding, right? So in our office, we have what we call just a literal cork board in our kitchen. And we use it for just kind of saying nice things to people, right? So then while they're making their food, they could just kind of say, oh, look, someone put a little envelope or a little card in my envelope. We kind of missed that. So we started doing this kind of like virtual kitchen cork board. So we made a channel just for that. And then what we started doing is we added this feature called praise. So down here on the bottom, you can hit the praise button, and then you can actually send someone a kind of a thank you for I don't know, something that they've done. So, you know, as an example, let's just say kind heart. I'm gonna send it to Karen. I'm gonna add a quick message. Thank you for helping. Demo today. Preview it really quick. You can see this is how it's gonna look. I can go ahead and send it to Karen. And you'll see here that now it's posted, and Karen got a nice little kind of card from me saying, hey, thank you. And it's really helped. This is really awesome. Instead of just sending a text to someone saying, hey, thanks for what you do, it kind of puts a little bit more of a graphical kind of feel to it, which is kind of nice. All right, let's look at how to add team pictures. So some of you may have said, hey, how do you guys have your MXO logo here? Or let's say on MSP, we have a little logo of our little picture of our team. Not very difficult to do. So as long as you're an admin within that team, you can hit the 3 dots, you can hit manage team, you can go to settings, and then you can add a team picture. There are some requirements, so just be careful. Like if it's a large logo, it may not fit very well. So you have to do kind of a smaller icon sort of file. But like if you see the MSP one here, it's, you know, it's fine. It looks okay, but if we were doing a logo that size, it would probably be way too big. So you can add a picture here. Now, while we're in here, let's get into a little bit more of like what sort of permissions you can manage, because there's a lot of things that are set up by default. So let's say in your team, you want to allow people to create and update channels. So you can check that box, which then allows people to create a bunch of channels. I would be a little cautious with that though, just to be safe, because Just saying, because if you have a certain team that you don't want people messing with the way the order is, then I would not check that. You'd have to be very open that there's going to be a bunch of channels created that that your team members have just made. So it's up to you if you want to check or uncheck that. You can allow members to delete, restore channels, add and remove apps, upload their custom apps. Actually, I should probably shut that off. So I'm going to shut that off. Adding and removing tabs, removing connectors, different sort of thing. Even just if you don't want people to delete their messages, you can uncheck this box if you want that. Same thing with guest permissions. So in this case, we did not allow any guest permissions within this team because this is an internal one. But if you wanted to allow that, you could do that. And then also check these items if you want to allow those guests to have very specific permissions. And then also, let's say you don't want to enable like GIFs or stickers or memes or any of those sorts of things. You can actually uncheck all those just to keep it more professional if you don't want to have that. Okay. All right. Another very cool thing that, so let's say you are sending out a company-wide email and you have half the staff that reads emails and you have the other half that they don't read emails and they rather just, view a message within Teams. So what ends up happening is, let's say HR sends a message, they end up sending the message once via an email, and then they send the message a second time via Teams. And it's just, it's double the work. You don't really need to do that. So next to, let's say, general, right? In this case, you can always click the three dots and you can hit get an email address, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and copy this email address. I'm gonna go into Outlook and I'm gonna create a new email. And what I could do is I can paste that there. And then I'm gonna just send it to another distribution group. So in this case, I'm just gonna, sorry, let me click this. There you go. I'm going to just send it to our leadership as well. No, hold on. Sorry about that.
Can you make that any bigger, Will, so we can see?
I don't believe I can because it's within.
That's okay.
Yeah. But basically, you would just paste that email that we just copied. And let's say I'm going to CC our leadership team. Right. So instead of me sending it to the company in a distribution group in an email and then going into Teams and posting it there separately, if I just do this, so test, right, test message, I'm going to hit send here. The distribution group is getting that email. But then on top of that, if I go into general, right, and in a moment, once that email sends, there you go. You'll see here that it actually also posted it right within that channel, right? Because essentially each channel has its own dedicated email that will never change, right? So it just simplifies things just a little bit. Or you might have someone that, let's say, would rather just send email. So let's say Joanna, instead of putting in Teams, she just wants to send emails. We can just give her that email address and then she can just send an email and format it within that way because maybe it's a little easier for her.
Yeah, and I love this feature and having both communications. I think probably a lot of you on this call can agree that we get bombarded with email. I mean, there's so much junk that comes in. I've had to create all kinds of rules. And for us, like, our engineers, they can't sit on email and answer those emails all day long, right? But they do need to respond to things that are important because they're helping our clients and they're working within their ticketing system. So for them, like, Teams would work great. If you have like an engineering firm, construction company, they might not want to be on email all day either. So this is a great way to just use Teams, but the office people can still use email so that they get that notification and communication right away. And I tell you, it's really helped people because email can just get very stressful and overwhelming. So, but for those who still like email and read it because they're in the office and that's how they communicate all day, every day, they get it too. So kind of works for both.
Yeah. So let's add let's say I want to go ahead and we're running a little long right now, so I'm going to try to speed through this a little bit. But let's say if you're going to add a new chat and you want to chat with someone external, same thing, except you're just going to put that person's external email here. It'll invite them in as a guest, and then you'll be able to chat with that person externally as long as your administrator allowed that. Same thing with a team, right? So if I wanted to go into this demo, manage my team, and I want to actually add someone to here, right? I can go ahead and hit add a member, put that person's external email address. They'll be invited here as a guest, which, like, as you see here, it says members and guests. They'll be invited as a guest, and then they can be a part of that team as well. Okay, so let's look real quick at tabs. So I added a few that are already in here. So let's say you want to pin what are called tabs within a channel to make it a little bit faster, basically shortcuts, right? So on the top here, you can see that, let's say for MSP, we'll have just a normal post, we'll have files, which is always there, but then we decided to actually link our SharePoint page to it. So we have a SharePoint page where it has all of our policies and procedures as an example, right? I can click that and it actually is embedding or linking SharePoint right within here, so that you can kind of quickly go to it. So let's say, hey, people want to look at what our work from home policy is. So they can go here, they can see that it's in the work from home folder. They can see the PDF that's attached right here. Right, we'll open that up and I'll close it quickly because I don't want you to see it. Just kidding. But you'll see, hey, here's our quick guide for our kind of work from home rules and guidelines, right? So that the employees can quickly review that. Because if I even dare to say, oh, hey, it's on SharePoint, a lot of them they don't want to go out of Teams, so they won't even go and look at it. So it's made it very simple, and hopefully, they'll use it a lot more because it's simple.
Well, real quick, Nicole asked a question. She said our leadership team is concerned about using files in the SharePoint app, and they're worried about the duplication of files and asked that we not use the files feature. I think you're answering some of that here already.
Yeah, but it depends where you're storing files. So if you're doing traditional file server, then yeah, you can't link a traditional file server into Teams, right? So you'd have to continue to work outside of Teams and work directly on your network drive. The way I always, and of course this is up to your leadership team if they've made that decision, but to me, you can still use the files because collaboration needs to happen, right? So as long as the policy states that in the end, that file needs to end up on your network share, right, then that's fine, and hopefully the staff are following that. I think preventing them from using files in general is I don't know, it's not my place, but it's a little bit of a mistake because I think it builds a lot more collaboration, and it's very, very difficult to collaborate on a network drive. You can't have a document open, let's say as simple as I can't have a document open by two people at a single time. So what ends up happening is most employees make a copy of it and they put it on their hard drive anyways. But if, let's say you are using SharePoint as an example, then yeah, I mean, I'm linking it right within here, and the employees, let's say if it was a Word document, they can continue working on it right from inside of here.
So it's just the way you set it up, right? It's the original setup, but you certainly can set up. You can see, Nicole, that's how we're using it. It integrates together because the duplication is definitely an issue for people.
Yeah, it definitely can be a problem.
Yeah,
so you just have to decide what's your policy.
Right, and how you want to set it up from the beginning. If you guys have any questions, like for things like that are a little more complex and require some strategy, you could always reach out to us. Like I said, email at ask@mxotech.com, and we can help you kind of walk through that.
Yeah.
And Will, yeah, go ahead, because I see we have 17 minutes left and I have a bunch of questions coming in.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to take like 2 more minutes here and we'll be done with this.
That sounds great.
So same thing, if let's say instead of a folder structure, you want to just look at your internal links. So we also have a SharePoint page that has internal links that's very simple for our staff to just remember, so they don't have to ask, hey, Will, where's the 1Password link? They can just go in here, click 1Password, and then it'll open up as a new tab. Same thing with contacts. They can put it in there. And then I built a test notebook for this demo. So it's like if you have OneNote and you want to have a OneNote for a meeting, as an example, you can very quickly add it in there. And it's very simple. You just hit the plus here. And really, to add any of this, you hit the plus. You can link it to a SharePoint document library. You can create a OneNote, or let's just say a Word document. So I want to have a Word tab. I uploaded a document called test, which this is pulling it from the file section within that channel, right? So I can click here, I can click save, and you'll see that now there's this default tab for Word that will now be in here, and it'll open up Word online from within Teams, and then we can begin working on that document. So there could just be something that the whole team is collaborating on. I don't know, it could be a list. It's kind of endless. Whatever you think you can use a Word document for, it's very, very simple to put something in here. So looks like one of our employees, Rustam, is already on here. Hopefully he doesn't put anything bad. But and then the last thing is just one thing that I know I find very useful is just linking a website. So let's just say MXOtech website. Save that. And now that website should load right within here. All right, so it's just very simple and fast to get through. So,
yeah,
okay.
I love the integration. There's tons of applications. You guys should go check them out. Everything from, you know, surveys, I mean, all kinds of stuff. So I would just play around with those. All right.
All right, questions, right? I think I'm done for now.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we're a good timing. We wanted to leave 15 minutes for questions. People always have great questions. All right, you had pop as an option to pop out a chat window. I've been looking forward to that feature, but I don't see it as a common option, as a command option.
Yeah, so that was just added this week, if I'm not mistaken. So they are adding stuff constantly. So as long as your chat or your Teams is the latest version, right, which it should update automatically, yeah, you'll see this option on the top right here to pop out the chat, which is, yeah, I was also looking forward to this as well. So.
And why would you use that versus at the bottom of the screen, Will?
Because let's say I want to have this chat open, but I also want to have, you know, a browser open at the same time, right? I can kind of still work on my work, but but I can be chatting with an individual directly because we're, you know, talking about things.
Awesome, thank you. Can you discuss how to implement a shared calendar in Teams?
Shared calendar. So the shared calendar, there's not a default way to do a shared calendar within Teams. You would have to still do it externally somehow that I'm aware of. So not something that I think I can show you within this time. But I think, to me, I would probably put like a shared calendar. Maybe if you throw one on SharePoint, put a calendar there, and then link that calendar into Teams through one of those tabs. That would probably be the way to do it. Or if you just add meetings to those channels, then people can kind of also reference it there. But usually you would be using like Outlook for a feature like that, I believe. Okay.
And by the way, for those of you who don't want to put a question in the chat, just raise your hand and I'm going to unmute you. You can just ask away. Okay. In the meantime, before that happens, can we add more praises from the web? I just learned how to add different backgrounds. Can I do the same with praise app?
There could be a way. I'm not aware of a way to do that. I do know that there are other apps that will do similar things within the Teams app store. So there could be more options there.
Yeah, maybe that's something that, Will, if you don't mind, we could leave that as a follow-up question and check it out and shoot an email here to Alejandra.
Okay.
That's okay with you.
Sure.
Charlotte maybe could take on that follow-up task. Okay, let me see if I'm doing this right here. All right, do we have other questions? Let's see. Would love a separate webinar on external Teams apps. Yeah, that's a great idea. We can look into that. We do plan on doing different series and webinars. This is really to be, it's, you know, for educational purposes. We want everyone to use a lot of this technology. Oftentimes as an IT company, we have, you know, we help you when you have a problem with your Outlook or a printer, right? But it's stuff like this that really helps your business grow. And so we're going to continue doing these. So thank you. Love any recommendations. Oh, I have more questions here on a different bar. Oh, wow. How did I get these questions? All right, here we go. Can you show how to save your whiteboard?
So your whiteboard's going to save automatically. So
Perfect.
when you've created it and did the whiteboard, it'll be there. And then you can go into the portal.office.com, click on the whiteboard app, and then you'll see all your whiteboards here. So if you can see, I have one that I made on March 17th that I drew pictures of all my team members for them as a joke. So that'll always stay there. Yeah.
Thank you. So something that is a little frustrating with Teams is the lobby. It seems internally that anyone internally can start a scheduled meeting, even if they are not the organizer. Do you know if Microsoft has any plans to change that within an organization tenant?
There are some settings in the admin center that you can probably adjust, but I guess I would ask, why is it a problem to start a meeting before the organizer has joined? Because if you think of it, it's like if you're in the office and you're starting a meeting in person. I mean, you booked a room, so people are going to go into that room waiting for the person to arrive. I know externally when you invite someone, the external people are in a lobby, so there is a setting for that. I would have to get back to you to show you that though.
Okay.
Maybe we can put that as a follow-up.
Yeah, so Charlotte will follow up with Tom here, Staley, on that. Okay, at the end of the call, can you provide any information as to how coworkers can go back, and take Teams 101 and 201? Yep, several have asked. No problem. Actually, Karen, if you can put the link from Teams 101 on this chat for everybody, that'd be great.
Yeah, just so you know, my voice went Darth Vader during that for some reason. So just enjoy the content, not my voice during that time.
This is maybe a repeat, but that's okay. Can you please show us how to send email/chat at the same time again? Yeah, that was kind of quick. I agree. And by the way, Karen, we will, we're going to send you those instructions and it's going to be in there. Charlotte wrote that all out step by step. So yeah, you'll get that too.
Yeah. So if you, any channel and this, just, if you don't see this in your Teams tenant, it's because it's not enabled on the admin side. So just ask your IT or put in a ticket with us and we'll do it for you. Yeah. If you hit the three dots on any channel, you'll see that it says get email address.
Karen, we can help you with that. Okay. Go ahead.
So if you see, yeah, no problem. So if you see get email address, you just copy this email address. And then in Outlook, you would create new message. And then you just paste and hit enter to the team that the address that it gave you. And then you can either send it or CC whoever else you want to receive it as an email. So in this case, this is sending it to MXO1, which is our company-wide. And then we have an MXOtech distribution group as well. I would just copy that distribution group in that email or put it in the to field, however you want to do it. And then when you send that message, it'll send it to both.
And Karen, if you still need help, just give us a call. You're a client. We're happy to help. All right. Can you change the enter key instead of sending a chat? You just want to move to the next line.
You can't change the enter key. What you'd have to get used to is hitting, so let's say test, you would hit shift enter, right? I'm sorry, test shift enter, right? And then basically you can kind of skip down, or you can hit this, hit the compose rich text button here. And then, you know, you can kind of continue going. But yeah, you got to get used to using that shift enter to kind of go down in a chat.
All right, CJ has a question. Thanks, Will. I can see the tools on the right-hand side. Are there text tools at the moment or media options like images? And then he said for the whiteboard. And do you have or know of a shortcut cheat sheet for Teams? Yeah, CJ, well, we'll send you the one we're going over, but I'm assuming he's asking for a general one.
Yeah, I'm sure Microsoft posted one that has that other than the one that we've created, but you just really need to remember slash on the top and app, which will always have the list of the most current shortcuts there. As far as the whiteboard, I don't think you can add images to a whiteboard. I think it's limited to whatever is just there. Now within, if he's asking within a chat, right? Within a chat, you could add different things like links, or you can add an attachment, or you can copy and paste an image. So like if I just open up a snipping tool and I take a quick snip of this, I can copy this and then just literally paste it and hit enter, and it'll show up in the chat.
Okay, so it sounds like, you know, for the shortcuts, it's the slash and @ sign. I think that was a great question, CJ, because even though if there is something out there, you could do it really quickly by just putting that in the search bar.
Yeah, and what you could do too is, as an idea, if you make, let's say if you have a company-wide team, you can create a channel. So like we made one called Teams Tips and Tricks, and you can just post them inside of there so that your staff can kind of remember them and they can always reference it.
Okay, for channel notifications, can you enforce a notification on setting for members? For example, if we had a COVID-19 channel for important updates regarding that, where we wouldn't want anyone to disable notifications. So yeah, so if we want, you know, let's say there's HR notifications, COVID-19 notifications, where we don't want anybody disabling it because we want everyone to have gotten a notification so they saw it because it's, you know, critical for a company. Can you make that kind of a set in stone channel with no options of opting out?
Yeah, so I don't think you can prevent someone from opting out, but you could set it so that if you see this permission here under just the channel settings, you could change it so that anyone can post and then show an alert that posting will notify everyone. So you can set that preference there, and I think that'll cover that, what you're trying to do.
Okay. Sounds good. And Will, do you have any, in the Teams app store, do you have any highly recommended apps?
It's very specific to your organization. So we internally at MXO, we don't use a lot of them. We use the surveying one that I showed you guys in the 101 quite a bit, but not too many. We use a lot of the built-in Microsoft stuff. But it's specific to you. I do know that I've heard of a lot of organizations using something like Trello, or like if you're already using this for project management, there's another one for project management. I forget the name of it, but there's another one in here that I know people use quite a bit.
Sounds good, and we can actually post something on that. So, okay, I think we're at 1 minute left, and before you hop off, I'd love for you to give us some feedback if you enjoyed this webinar, if you thought it was helpful for you, if there's anything else you'd like to hear. I don't know if there's a thumbs up or down feature in here, but feel free to give us one. And then Karen did just post a YouTube link for Teams 101. So you have it here. And someone said, I presume a stylus will work on a whiteboard for laptop and screens.
Yes. So if you're
Yeah.
if a Surface, you're a Surface user as an example, yeah, it works really, really well with that.
Okay, perfect.
Oh
All
yeah,
right.
Karen. By the way, Karen George just responded. Asana and Trello for apps. Yes, Asana was the other one that I was referencing. So thank you for that, Karen.
And someone said Planner is a great app too.
Yeah.
Thank you for a wonderful webinar, Planner. Okay. Yeah, you know, maybe what we'll do is, yeah, actually post any comments of what you find helpful in here, any feedback you want to give us. And what we could do is share it with our community, with everybody. Because I think, you know, for us, it's really getting this started and showing you some features, but we'd love, I know a lot of you guys are using Teams and using it in a way maybe that we're not even describing for you today. So we'd love your feedback as well. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, Will, for the great session. I'm gonna review the rest of the questions. I think there might be just a couple that I didn't answer, but if you, again, have any specific questions, please email ask@mxotech.com. Anything you want, just email ask and we'll respond to you within like 24 hours. Even if we don't have an answer, we'll get one for you. Any links you want, you could always go to MXO YouTube channel, and all of our recordings are going to be posted there. So it's 11 o'clock, and I want to make sure we end this on time. Everybody have a fabulous week. We're looking forward to the sun coming out tomorrow. And we're here if you need anything related to IT or just someone to talk to, call us. Thanks.
Have a good one, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Charlotte. Thanks, Karen. Have a fantastic day.
All right. Bye.
I'm going to end the webinar. See, I'm just going to leave it for a second. Some comments. Wow, people are hopping off. Those are some great questions. Yeah, it would be a cool webinar, Will, to do it on the Teams separate apps. We have, let's just see. Thank you so much for providing this webinar. Very informative. Have a great day. I have an advising session. Thank you.